A gripping story, beautiful world, and some soulsy stuff thrown in. I like it. Like me. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 launches on April 24th. But I was fortunate enough to get into the early access preview for this game, and I've logged about 5 or 6 hours or so. Honestly, I've been interested in this game ever since I saw it, even though I typically only play Souls and Souls-like games. But before you guys jump on me in the comments, no, I'm not going to spend this video trying to convince you that it is a Souls-like. It's not. But after playing it, there are some things I think Souls fans will like and even find somewhat familiar. At least I did. So let me walk through what I liked about the game and also what has me kind of concerned for its success. First off, the game is gorgeous. The world has kind of like an Avatar vibe to it with the bright blues and shiny things while still keeping like an alien nature theme. I really enjoyed just running around and looking at the plethora of amazing visual feats. But aside from its visual accomplishments, another thing that stood out to me that I really liked is the story of the game. There's a lot I still don't understand because this was just a preview demo, but essentially you play as multiple characters that are part of an expedition in what seems to be an alien world. Expedition 33 to be exact. What the number of the expedition means is still a question, but it does seem to have some kind of major role in the story since you see it written all over the world and talked about, as well as the numbers of other expeditions. But in the opening cutscene, your expedition is attacked by a mysterious old man and split up. You then embark on a journey to find missing members of your party while still trying to accomplish the expedition's original purpose, which is yet another question mark. The acting is great and really pulls you into the world while producing so many questions that race through your mind and entice you into wanting to play more in hopes to find these answers. And perhaps the thing I'm looking forward to the most about the full game is finally understanding what is happening and why we are here in the first place, which I am sure was exactly what they were trying to do, and they did it very well. But now let's talk about the combat. For the most part, it's pretty standard for a turn-based game. There are some sort of special things like the ability to free aim and shoot specific weak points on the enemies, or the way some of the characters' abilities work, like Lune's attacks, will change based on what kind of status effects are currently on the enemy she's attacking. But the most unique thing, and the reason why I jokingly call this game a turn-based Sekiro, is the addition of a parry mechanic. This is actually what I thought made the combat so entertaining and unique. So instead of the traditional turn-based style of you attack, they attack, you attack, and the only skill factor in it is the attacks that you select and win. But in Expedition 33, you actually control whether or not you take damage and also have the opportunity to deal counter damage. When the enemy attacks, you can either choose to dodge, which has a wider window of opportunity, but has no counterattack option. Or you can choose to parry, which has a much tighter window, but gives you the ability to do counter damage if you successfully parry all the attacks in a string. There is also a third option of jumping that has to be used against big AoE attacks. So it does have some similarities to Sekiro and many other games in that you have to pay attention to the attack and the timing of the attack and then act accordingly. These mechanics, added to a turn-based style, make it so much more entertaining and interactive, since you don't have to just sit there and press a button every now and then as the wheel of chance turns. Overall, this is the most fun I have had playing turn-based combat in a very long time. Now, if you made it this far in the video, you might be enjoying it. If so, leave a like, subscribe, and consider becoming a channel member for some sweet perks. You'll also be my new best friend. In short, I had a great time playing the preview demo, and I'm pretty excited to play the full game. Although I do have a couple of concerns that I'd like to go over real quick, but I do want to stress that this was just a demo. So the full game could look and will look much different, and thus could render these concerns null and void. But the first one is the exploration. Once the game opens up after you make it through the beginning tutorial area, you can explore and find optional side areas and dungeon type places, but once you're in an area, the exploration essentially amounts to a little side path with an item at the end, maybe an enemy to fight. It reminds me a lot of God of War's exploration. So if you like that style, you won't mind this at all, but if you like more expansive, deep exploration, this will feel pretty shallow. The next thing is the difficulty of the game. This may not be a factor for a lot of people who enjoy these types of games, but for someone who likes a little challenge, Expedition 33 needs a little more spice. I cranked up the difficulty all the way to expert, and in my time playing, there was really only a couple encounters that were mildly challenging. Now, it has been stated by the developers that the full game will have much harder encounters in it. So this may end up being one of those areas where I eat my words. But even if that is true, I think the beginning of the game still needs to be cranked up a little bit because it just feels like a very slow start, and the fights don't really mean much at all. They feel much more like a formality than an encounter, even after you get past the initial tutorial fights. So a little bit more difficulty right out of the gate, I think, would keep things feeling more entertaining and maybe wouldn't cause as many players to drop off towards the beginning of the game. Now, the last thing I want to go over is related to the difficulty problem, and that is the length of the fights themselves. Most of the fights at the beginning of the game are just way too short. Some of them are literally start the encounter, each of your characters takes a turn, all the enemies die before they can even do anything, and then the encounter ends. To me, it seems that encounters like that are just pointless. And even the ones that last a little bit longer don't by much. However, the boss fights are much longer and are way more fun, and as the game progresses, the regular fights do get harder and harder and last a little longer, but the beginning of the game just kind of drags. So overall, I would give it a 7.5 out of 10 with potential to be an 8 or 9. It just needs to be a little longer and a little harder. Crap, the comments are going to have fun with that.